What is the worst thing to happen to you during sex? Her little lying rat dog of a chihuahua snuck in the room while we're eyeing and attacked me. You have no idea how fast a man can move when there is a set of tiny evil teeth coming at your junk. I bought some fancy organic lube to try with my boyfriend at the time. We get down to business and my vagina starts stinging a little bit. Then a lot. Then full on burning. We quickly stop and he says that his bits are feeling a little tingly but not the level I'm on. I grab the lube bottle and take a better look at it. Just says normal. Organic. Unscented lube. I spend 5 minutes looking all over this damn bottle before I find the problem in the very last listed ingredient. Menthol. My vagina continued to burn for the next hour. I came inside my girlfriend and pulled out and it got all over my bed. Before we had a chance to clean it up my cat jumped on the bed right in it. Sorry Bender. He did not like that bath. You got cum on both pussies lol. Sorry. Couldn't resist. All I'm gonna say is if you do one of those spicy food challenges at a restaurant, make sure you use some mouthwash or something and wash your hands really well before SI time. Tore my frenulum. The old banjo string. Frenulum. Used to have kind of that roll around SX where you drastically change positions and just going at it. We were on the floor and we somehow tipped this heavy ass lamp over and a metal part hit her square in the lip. Busted it pretty decently. We worked at the same place and her excuses for it were terrible. That's all I remember. I'll throw this in. Edit. Also same girl. Going at it. Take her pants off in the pitch black and just chuck them across the room. Hear this unbelievably loud sound of shattered glass. Said it. Kept going at it. Found out in the morning it was my roommate's bong, in a million pieces. He just said after I told him hey if you're gonna break it. That's the way to do it. The guy had a sudden pain. One side of his penis and groin turned black and blue. Had to go to the ER. Thought I broke his penis. It was a blood clot that moved there due to what was going on, the erection. Had my cervix hammered at the wrong angle and bruised it. I almost went to the ER but suffered through after some DR. Google made me feel like I wasn't going to die, for once. I bled a little but the pain lasted days. For sure was waddling to walk for the first day. Guys never believe it. But too big of a dick is totally a problem. I once passed out mid-climax. I didn't eat that day and I just collapsed on her. She thought I straight up died on her. Wasn't too serious but was definitely not fun. Started farting uncontrollably. In rhythm to my thrusts. Thank God they were dry. My boyfriend let loose with a loud fart during some fancy moves. I knew he was a keeper when we both just died laughing. We've been married a decade now. It didn't happen to me. I did it to them. I was on vacation and met a guy I got along with really well. We wound up back at his place. While we were in the middle of things I got a really bad leg cramp so I started saying oh my god. Oh my god. Oh my god and he thought I was having an orgasm and kept going. I accidentally kicked him in the face trying to get my legs out from under him. Sorry Sam. Worst for me physically. Pulling both hamstrings. First one. Then the other while compensating. Worst for me mentally. My GF's mom walking in on us. 3 times now. Might just want to let THRGF's mom know ahead of time so she can find a seat before everything starts up. I was banging my girl doggy style. Her dog jammed his snout in my crack and started licking my asshole. Closest I ever got to a threesome. I was getting a hand job from my girl, now ex, and NGL I just fell asleep. I was really tired from the night before. Not me but a friend of mine blew a brain aneurysm. While having car SX had a very nice elderly woman pull over to make sure we were okay. Was on top and went to kiss him as he was coming up and cracked my nose on his big ass forehead. It made a pop and I was so sure it broke. But ended up only being sore for a days. Halfway through the breakup SX ended on decent terms. There was one thrust way too hard and I got sharp pain. Helped out in pain and we paused for a second but went back a little gentler. At the end I stood up and my entire torso was sore and sharp pain at the same time. I waited about 30 minutes, sobbing on the floor before I let him take me to the ER. 3 hours and a CT scan later, turns out he ed me so hard that he burst a cyst on my ovary. She started shaking and hyperventilating, mumbling the name XXXX over and over. Had no idea what was happening, I just cradled her. Apparently that was her best friend's name that RP'd her years ago and we were getting so rough she had a PTSD flashback. We went out for a walk after and ordered pizza. She was sitting on my face, and I rolled my head back right when she came down. My front tooth pierced her about 2 centimeters away from her clitoris. By her urethra. She moaned and drew away for a second, then jumped up to the bathroom. I looked down and saw a significant pool of blood on my chest. I remember the sound of an ear piercing, like rapid fire puncturing, but with my tooth. I was eating her out when she began to climax. She had her thighs on my shoulders with her legs up. She began squeezing my neck really hard. Not wanting to ruin her orgasm, I kept going until I passed out from her choking me out like that. She thought she killed me. I was only out for like a minute but to her it was like 5. Newly pregnant with our first baby and had some weird morning sickness but also was insanely horny. Was riding my husband and ended up throwing up all over him and the bed when I climaxed. Gagged on my boyfriend's dick mid-deep throat and let out a giant fart. We were in the middle of it when we both got hit with horrible stomach aches. I was in the middle of asking him to stop when he abruptly bolted toward the only bathroom. Apparently, something we had eaten earlier that day was less than fresh. And, due to circumstances of the position we were in, I didn't get to the toilet first and had to wait in the fetal position until it became vacant. It was not a good time. Bonus story. I learned that I was allergic to latex in the worst possible way. Same partner. A couple of years prior to the poo-splosion experience. Young love. I once broke a guy's banjo string. Once we had finished there was blood on both of us and neither of us knew who was bleeding. Until he started to feel the pain. One time during SX the cat decided he needed pets and laid on my chest and stared at my husband. He was going to wind down on me with some toys while eating me out. Right as I came, super hard. Saw stars. I blasted a giant queef right in his sweet face. In my defense, he was the one cramming a bunch of air all up in there. D-bag XBF thought he was a SX god cause he was slightly above average size wise. Well, I was not turned on. No lube plus him just trying to get it into my vag. I'm bleeding and telling him to stop. He does. Then just says I'm going to go finish in the bathroom without asking if I'm okay or what's going on. We were exes not long after that. Edit. Thanks everyone for the support. For those who've been commenting that it was RP. No. It was not. I willfully, stupidly maybe, consented to SX with the asshat and it did not go as planned. Not going as planned happens all the time. However, there was nothing about the situation that made my consent invalid. Key thing next. When I knew something was wrong and I said stop, he stopped. Consent was revoked and the SZul encounter involving both of us stopped. His response and actions to go finish himself off in the bathroom instead of ask what's wrong, if he could help, etc. shows he's a real self-centered pose and why we quickly were not dating after that. 2 situations. First one is funny. Me and my former girlfriend were doing doggy style and my mom walked in the room. Needless to say, that relationship didn't last long. Second one was a bit scary. I was going down on this girl and, for some reason unknown to me to this day, my vision went black and I started to seizure. Was rushed into the hospital with a one-night stand tagged along and they called my mom. Did a lot of exams and tests but they never found out why I had one. It was just that random. Needless to say, that one night stand lasted longer than I thought it would. Guy I lost my virginity invited me over. We were both in high school. I apparently wasn't over my period yet, so got blood on his dick and he got so mad he kicked me out. I had no car. So his best friend ended up picking me up and driving me home and apologized on his behalf. What an asshole. Sorry you experienced that. I was 19 and my BF went a little too deep and I was hit with blinding pain. Wound up on the floor crying for 30 minutes before we went to the hospital. Turns out I had a bad appendix and it was about to burst. The worst part though was the doctor laughed during the exam and asked if we figured it out during sex. Cue me being embarrassed and confused. Finally asked him how he knew it. He said, "You have a hickey on each ass cheek." Dead giveaway. With everything going on, I'd forgotten. It was my first time having sex and the girl's mother came in. It was Mother's Day. Right before he finished, he pulled out and, instead of coming, he peed all over me. Complete accident. We were both incredibly alarmed. But I went straight into damage control mode and calmly cleaned up. And comforted him because I'm sure it had to be completely humiliating to accidentally pee on your partner. Later when I was alone I'll let myself be grossed out and feel sorry for myself lol. Edit. Yes. It absolutely can happen. It's just rather uncommon and more of a special circumstance. Apparently it feels really weird. I wouldn't know because I do not have a dick. It's really nothing to be ashamed of. It's just very unfortunate. Sometimes our bodies do gross things and there's little we can do about it except be kind and forgive ourselves and others. God bless you for how you handled that. My dad forgot something at home and came back from work one morning. Caught me and my ex-BF butt-ass naked going at it. I was in GR12 and skipping school. Said I felt sick but I got that early morning dick. The dude was like 6'5" but I've never seen someone jump so high and flee off the bed so fast before. Worst part was I ran into the closet and he found me in there. Covering my cooch with one hand and my titties with another. At 19 I broke my left hip. Reverse cowgirl gone so very wrong. We still finished. Got a hip replacement and ride like a champ now. Married the guy. He was my high school BF. He was 20. When the big go passed it definitely hurt. Someone came in my throat and it came out of my nose. Holy crap. Did you ever find out who it was? Where did you come from? Where did you go? She said you're so good at this. Followed that up with much better than Travis and Matt. Who the are Travis and Matt? Edit. Thank you to the kind stranger for the award and an honest thanks to you all for making me laugh so hard over a story I try not to think about often. Also, I'm ashamed I never made the crit roll connection. Broke my pinky as I was shifting my position during missionary. My girlfriend, wife now, and I both heard it crack but I was so into it that I finished. Went to the washroom. Reset the finger and never even went to the hospital. It healed on its own but there's still a bit of a crook to the right. We still laugh about it to this day. I had an ex who liked for me to finger her ass while I ate her out. One time while doing so I could feel the turds actually working their way out. I quickly stopped. That sounded like a tie situation. Someone lost a lip ring eating me out once. He must have unscrewed the ball with his tongue. We found the ring but not the ball. To this day I pray it was in the carpet. Another time during a threesome I had arranged with a married couple, the man left mid-sex and didn't return and so I kinda slowed down with his wife. She was cuddling and chilling with me for a while before I eventually asked if she was gonna go check on him. Then she said we made an arrangement that if one of us leaves the room the other one has to follow. It was basically their safe word signal as they'd never had a threesome before. And she told me this after I had been alone with her for probably like 10 minutes. I never saw them again but I was very uncomfortable with the bad communication and I hope they worked things out after that. Maybe even with some counseling. I had a partner stop in the middle of giving me head. Walk out. I was super full from dinner and had some drinks in me. I puked while deep throating my, now BF, then FWB. I managed to keep it all contained and swallowed it. I know, disgusting, before he could notice. Though. We started dating. And I brought it up a couple years down the road. He said he remembered it happening. But he didn't realize I threw up. But it made sense because he did feel a slight burning sensation. I was way mortified. Even years after the fact. His dog made his way into the room and neither of us realized it because the dog was so quiet. We were changing positions and my foot went off the edge of the bed and the dog bit the out of it. This was maybe 2 weeks after having foot surgery. Probably less because I still had stitches in my foot. I cried so hard. It's okay though. The guy explained that he rescued the dog from a dude that used to kick the out of him. Poor puppy probably thought he was getting kicked again and just tried to defend himself. My mom called halfway through. After I finished, I stood up and kinda jumped off the bed and hit my forehead on the edge of the ceiling fan which was on and landed off balanced on the floor and rolled my ankle bad. So bad it was swollen up like a baseball. I had to wear an air cast for close to a month. It's been 6 months I think now and it's still not fully healed. The condom spilled all over the carpet and I got rug burn on one knee. I couldn't move cause I was in so much pain and my wife was just like WTF. To be fair I think it was just after. Not during. But my less than 6 meters old cat tried to latch onto my nipple. I let an ex tie me up. He completely ignored my safe word and used a fork on me thinking it was funny. I bleed all over and he punctured the wall between my vagina and butthole. I got a really bad infection and stitches for trusting him. Wow, thanks for all the upvotes. Also I am fine now. This happened a long time ago. Whoa. Thanks for the awards. Toss between the bloody nose and his mom almost caught us. Edit. Definitely being caught by his mom. Then her apologizing for scaring me. Pooped on the girl. What? My ex-girlfriend once threw up on me while we were having sex. Apparently. She wasn't feeling well. But still wanted to have sex. But while she was on top of me, she got queasy and puked on my chest. I was so shocked I didn't know how to react and struggled to not puke myself out of reflex. She was so embarrassed and immediately got off. Tossed on a robe. And ran to the bathroom. I cleaned myself off and went after her to check if she was okay. Although she felt physically better after puking. Emotionally was so embarrassed and it took me some time to convince her I still loved her and found her attractive after that. I was once getting oral from a very sweet but inexperienced guy. He started to do well after listening to me guide him and I guess he wanted to add a little bit of his own razzle dazzle. He did this by chomping down on my clitoris. Twice. Got bit in the nose by one of my cats. Ruined by momentum. GF made a silly face while we were making eye contact. I lost my boner. Didn't get to finish. After I nutted in her, I sat down. She put her vagina in my face. And I said guess I'm eating my own cum. She laughed for a straight 10 minutes. One night stand. The guy was sweating a lot, more than is normal. Even for sex, which already was a little off-putting. Then a drop of his sweat fell. In my eye. If you want to ruin the mood and the occasion. That's how. I've also awkwardly cramped up a few times during sex in the hip and foot. Luckily my ex, a gem, was a good sport. Laughed and helped me out. The dog starts licking my balls. First time I gave head. My ex didn't warn me before he came so I spit it out immediately. Always warn a gal, or guy, when you're about to bust a nut in their throat goddamn. She whispered, "I love you," in my ear. I knew she was lying. Mood went from hilarious to depresso espresso. I was visiting my GF in college at her sorority house. We hadn't seen each other in weeks. So as soon as I got there we started having sex in her room. She was sitting on top of me and when she came she suddenly stopped and made a shocked face. She reached her hand back to touch her ass and when she pulled her hand back there was diarrhea on it. I was about to shout but since I wasn't technically supposed to be in the sorority house she wanted to stop me from making noise and put her poo hand over my mouth, getting a smear of on my open mouth. I immediately ran to the bathroom and started vomiting from the smell. She was absolutely horrified. I never gave her a hard time about it and 6 months later we were happily broken up. The wrong hole incident. Everything was way too lubricated I guess. In addition to thrusting very enthusiastically. And he went out of the wagon fully sunk into my asshole. Worst pain of my life. My ears started ringing. Got tunnel vision and nearly blacked out. My mom walked in on us. I think we managed to convince her we weren't. We never talked about it. Your mom knows. She's not a fool. Just never bring it up and keep a better ear out for car doors. I was having sex with a FWB. And I was starting to orgasm. I accidentally farted. Not a huge one. But enough that we both heard it. I know it's not the end of the world. But at the time I was really embarrassed. And my coping method to deal with embarrassment is laughing. The problem is my body was still in orgasm mode. So I was having a mixture of a laughing fit and moaning. I couldn't speak properly because I was laughing so hard followed by moans. It sounded like I was having a mental breakdown. And my FWB was really worried he traumatized me or something. Eventually I calmed down and assured him I was okay. He and I still joke about it to this day. His dick hit my arsehole full speed. Not once but twice. Never jumped so high or out of bed so fast in my life. The pain was so bad I thought I was going to black out. And I suffer from debilitating menstrual cramps from endometriosis. This had nothing on those cramps. I bled for about a day. And my ass hurt every time I coughed or sat down for about a week. It took me a while to get the fear of it happening again out of my head tbh. And I couldn't bring myself to sleep with the guy ever again after that. NL. She pooped on my dick. You can't knock on poop's door and be surprised when he answers. Fake comment. I ran out of battery. What are you? Some kind of Japanese SX robot? First time I slept with my ex. Midway through she jumped off me shouting and when I turned round the candle she had by the window had set the blinds on fire. Honestly battling a fire with your cock out is a feeling that's never left me. Ripped out a piercing. A potential employer called me because she had used me as a reference. She was on top of me and there was a lot of pressure to talk her up for me there. Grandma knocked on the door and saying she can't breathe just as I came. Me and my then GF dressed up and called an ambulance. That day ended with us still dirty and smelling like cum in the hospital. Grandma's okay BTW. My boss walked in on me. Coital headache. Worst pain I've ever had. The headache didn't last too long but it warranted an awkward trip to the ER to check if I was having an aneurysm. Doc said it happens more often than you'd think. Moral of the story, work your way up to the transition from your in-law's kitchen table to the counter. NL. She went too high up on it and then slammed back down. Curving my dick almost snapping it. It happened more after sex but. Do the deed with a dude. He fails to tell me the condom falls off. No dude. You can't pretend you didn't feel it. I continue about my life. 2 days later. I do the deed with a second dude. He says he feels something up there. And I fish out a 2-day-old used condom from dude number 1. Within a week. My sides begin to hurt. I have a fever. Chills. Go to a hospital and this mother gave me a kidney infection. I've told this before under a different username. One night stand. He was getting really into things when I started to struggle to breathe. I'm asthmatic. I couldn't talk enough to tell him to stop. And I was wheezing pretty hard. He thought I was orgasming. And got right into it. I had to actually push him off me so I could grab my inhaler. It was awful. He felt bad after. There was also the time I learned I am allergic to certain condoms. I had hives all over my labia and inside my vagina.